We've been through a wild, wild March Madness. And now, April 1st and April 3rd in NRG Stadium, we are down to the wire. From 68 teams to 64 to 32 to 16 to 8, and now we're down to the final four. The Florida Atlantic Owls, the Aztecs of San Diego State, the Huskies of UConn, and the Hurricanes from the U. This is one of those times where if there's a purpose for March Madness, here it is. So these four teams, well, you got three teams that are gone to the Final Four for the first time. San Diego State, Miami, and Florida Atlantic. That would be something if Florida Atlantic and Miami make it to the national championship on Monday, because it would be a battle of Florida in Texas. It's going to be funny. But aside from that, we were in for some incredible gameplay. Or, yeah, gameplay would work because these two teams were pretty unbelievable considering what we just went through. Another 16 seed defeating a 1 seed, and that all of the number 1 seeds could not make it to the Elite 8. So we were in for something really spectacular. Now, let's go through all the teams. Florida Atlantic is the Conference USA champion, and they had quite a road going through them. They first defeated Memphis, then they took out Farley Dickinson, who defeated Purdue, which was a number 1 seed, against the 16 seed, which is funny to say because you don't see that happening all that often. That's for sure. Then you're going on to beat the Volunteers of Tennessee, and finally they beat Kansas State. So they're a 5 seed. No, they're not a 5 seed. They're a 9 seed playing for the first time in the tournament. Well, no, not the first time in the tournament, but the first time getting to the Final Four. And that could be the same for two other teams. I mean, you have the Aztecs, who won the Mountain West, and they had to take out Charleston, Furman, Alabama, a number 1 seed, of course, so that was quite something, and Creighton, and by 1 point. There's a bit of controversy going on still about how that finished. I thought that, with the time running, that was I would say that finish was a little bit controversial, but I think that was the right call because the way it was touched and I think that was the correct call. So I mean, it was crazy enough for it as it is. But these two teams going to the Final Four for the first time, you would think maybe this is going to be one of those times where you're going like, did we just see what we thought we saw? Now, I could go on and say that who I think will win in that matchup, which I think is going to be Florida Atlantic. So the Owls will move on to the next round, move on to Monday in the national championship, but they also have to take on UConn and Miami, whoever wins that one. And UConn, they are the American champions. Not the Americans, they're the Big East champions. I gotta make sure I got my notes right. I mean, you know how it is. But they beat Iona, not Iowa, Iona, which is kind of funny to say. Then they beat the Gales of St. Mary's Central before they took out Gonzaga. Well, no, they didn't take out Gonzaga first. They took out the Razorbacks of Arkansas. Then they beat Gonzaga. I thought Gonzaga might actually get to the Final Four. I was wrong, but, it's good to be wrong. And UConn, they have won the national championship a couple of times. I mean, one time they actually won it with the women. So yeah, it has happened before. And for that, they had to take on Miami, and Miami also playing for the in the Final Four for the first time. They're the ACC champions. No, they're not the ACC. I'm sorry, they're not the ACC champions. They're the runner-ups of the ACC, but they did recover from their loss against Duke, who got bounced all too soon, which is kind of funny. But they beat Drake. Then they beat the Hoosiers of Indiana, followed by taking out the number one seed Houston before taking out Texas. So they went from being a one seed to a two seed. And that right there is like telling me this team is not one to be falling asleep on. So the way I see it is that whoever wins the UConn Miami game is going to be the national championship. And for that, and the way I've been watching all this, you can also see how I'm going to fare. So what I see is it's going to be a battle of Florida. Because you got the Hurricanes and the Owls. And by that, you can already tell that I am going after the U for this one. So yeah, Hurricanes. I know you're known for the football clubs, but for this one, I say you win the national championship. So how about that? Let's go Canes.